What's up, y'all? So yesterday I didn't get video at practice session or anything, or I guess I should say 2 days ago. I didn't do the vlog for it or anything. I was kind of more or less just focusing on making sure my side was going to be okay, my rib, which I think is pretty well healed up now. I think we're in good shape. I did go to the chiropractor last week beforehand. And I think the overall consensus was that I actually dislocated a rib, and it just popped itself right back in, and that was the pop sound that I heard. And so it was just super tender and almost like just bruised around my ribs a little bit. It's still a little tender in certain spots, probably the rib that actually was affected. So that goes to show you form is really important when you're working out. I don't think I was engaging my core well enough when I was doing the leg press. So that mistake won't happen again. So my rib didn't really hurt this weekend bowling. And again, it was a grind, man. It was brutal. It was super hard. That building's always hard over in Findlay. It was AMF Sportsman's Bowl or Sports Bowl or Sportsman, something like that. It was brutal. We bowled on 37-foot Viper on that surface with probably with the worst approaches you could have when it gets humid. They were the old original Brunswick anvil lane approaches, so they were the shiny ones. And when it gets humid and sticky out, which it was like in the mid 80s, those approaches get pretty bad. Now, I didn't have a ton of problem except early on. The first game, I missed a couple of spares just sticking on the approach, and I missed a 10 pin and I missed a 3-6-10. Overall, through qualifying, I think I missed 4 or 5 spares actually, and it was always shooting left or right because they were tacky and it did cause a problem, and they got extra tacky in the corners. So shooting 10 pins and stuff, or corner pins for either side of the lane was really difficult. But that's just part of the game. You got to learn to deal with the variables that are thrown at you, and that's just one of them. That's why they make adjustable soles. Unfortunately, in this situation, if you put a more slippery sole on, which worked in the corners, it made them too slippery in the middle. So it was kind of one of those, you just kind of had to deal with sticking and get used to what's going to happen when you leave a corner pin or something. So it wasn't that bad. It was okay. For the most part, we bowled pretty good. I bowled a fairly good block up until game 7. Was it game 7? I think. No, I think it was game up until game 6 and 7. 6 and 7 were not good. I bowled 160 and 170 back to back, 160 on the nose, and then I think 178 the next game, which dropped me all the way back to 38 under going into the last game, and the cut was 31 under going into the last game. So I needed to do something. I needed to make a change. For the most part throughout the day, I was using urethane because the lanes were so flat, they were tricky. Playing too straight up the lane, it was like your ball would hang right of 5. So it was like that 37-foot pattern that didn't have a lot of hook off the gutter. So you couldn't play too straight. It forced you to go a little bit left. You couldn't go up the lane because your ball would hook early through the face. And you really couldn't go around it too much unless you were slow looping it. And that's pretty much what I was trying to do. That gave me a little bit of room left, which I knew I was going to leave a flat 10 pretty much. Anytime I got it going left too far and not far enough to the right, I was going to flat 10. Or if I got my hand too far forward, I had no chance of getting the ball to go through the pins again there. So it was a difficult thing to manage. And I was managing it fairly well through 5 games. I think I stayed plus. I think I was like 20 something over after 5. And then I bowled 160, which dropped me back to like 17 under. And then I bowled 170, that dropped me back to 38 under. So, but then the last game I switched to, I had to make a move. I bowled 230 and on the end pair on 1 and 2, throwing like a 6-bagger at the end. And I switched to a blue tank because of what Joe Bailey was doing on the other end of the building. He had one of the old original black tanks. That was one of the first microcell polymer cover stocks. And he was playing straighter. He was getting his ball at like 7-8 up the lane, twirling it, and it was sitting there. It was sitting there really good, and he got it a little to the right, and it would still hook, and it looked really good. So through about 5 frames, when I was trying to do what I was doing, I switched, and I jumped over with the blue tank, my shiny one, and I moved over to like 8, 9, and I kind of went up the lane with it, and it gave me a little hold left and a little bump to the right. I bowled 230. We're right back in it now. I'm 20 over or so, 17 over, something like that. And we're in pretty good shape at that point. Feeling pretty good. The cut was minus. Just knew I was just going to have to grind, make spares, make good shots, keep it in play, just do what I had to do, and I would be in good shape. And all the while I was there, my boy was sick. Like, he was not feeling good at all. His allergies were going crazy. I'm pretty sure it was just allergies because he's good today. Like, there was a high pollen warning in the area that we were in yesterday, and when he woke up, he just couldn't breathe. He was really, really heavy breathing. Just, it was kind of like wheezy and everything. And I'm like, that just came out of nowhere. So it sounded like an asthmatic type of thing. I was a little concerned. So, we got him some cough medicine, and he had a little bit of a cough and runny nose and watery eyes, all the allergies type stuff. And so we got him cough medicine and an allergy medicine, and he took that, and it knocked him out. So he pretty much slept all through qualifying. He was on the chair. He put 2 chairs together, and he was just laying across the chairs, and he slept most of the time. And I was concerned. I was actually texting his mom the whole time, and she's like, you probably should take him into the urgent care. And I'm like, all right. I thought about withdrawing, and I'm like, well, let's get through this block and see how he does. And I bowl that last game, and I switched to the Game Breaker 4 Pearl, and I moved a bunch left and just kind of tried to go around it. The game before, I tried to throw a pin down IQ Tour to blend out the lane, and it was getting there, and it looked good, but I couldn't get it to strike. I went like flat 10, stone 8, 4 pin, flat 10, and 4 frames in a row, and I'm like, well, this just isn't going to work. I ended up bowling 170 that game. So I switched to the Game Breaker 4 on the fill of that first game, or of that game 7, and it got through there and light swished and struck, and I'm like, okay, it didn't overhook down lane. So I used it game 8, and I started out, tried to play the lanes the same way, and I left a bucket minus the 8 pin, made a move to the left. And I know people are going to be like, well, you just came in light, why would you move left? Well, again, it's another one of those situations where I didn't want to move my ball further away from the pocket. I needed to get away from that spot where my ball just hung, and if my angle's steeper, I can get it to start up a little quicker and never see that hang down lane, never see that hang spot. And it worked out perfect, and I struck out the rest of the way and bowled 290. And I mean, I pretty much labeled most of those shots all the way through that game. It looked pretty good. So bowl 290, get to 52 over, qualify 4th. And in between blocks, I'm like, all right, my boy's feeling like trash. Got to wake him up. Got to run to the store. We ran across in between blocks waiting for match play to start. We jumped in the truck and we went over to Walmart down the road. And I got him a different type of allergy medicine to try something new. Got him some children's Tylenol because he was starting to feel warm. And I'm like, all right, we got to try something. I'm going to give him some medicine, see how he feels. If I have to, I'll withdraw and we'll take him somewhere. So we gave him some Tylenol and some allergy medicine, different type of allergy medicine for kids, and got him back into the bowling center. He's still feeling like trash. He lays back down, falls asleep again. And halfway through, so it's about 25 minutes later, we get into game 1. And about halfway through, I'm looking over, he's breathing heavy, same as he was. And I'm like, I'm getting worried. I'm not feeling too good about this. I'm like, I'm going to have to withdraw. I'm going to have to leave and get out of here and get this boy some attention, figure out what's going on. And then the medicine must have kicked in. Game 2 starts, and I go over and I kind of rub his back a little bit and, feel his head. He feels cooler. Everything feels good. And he kind of wakes up and looks at me. And he stops and he says, my cough is gone. And I'm like, well, that's good. Do you feel better? And he's like, yeah, I feel a lot better. I'm like, medicine's kicking in. I'm like, okay, good. So I'm looking, and now all of a sudden he's not wheezing anymore, and he's breathing better, and he's good to go. And he just kind of falls back asleep. And for the next 3-4 games, I'm just kind of watching him, and his breathing's getting better and better and better, and he was good. So that was good. But I mean, it just seems like every week I've got a distraction of some sort of going on that it's causing something. But that's okay. I mean, these things are actually good to build your mental focus, to build your game. So I look at it as a challenge. Some people don't understand how I deal with all this stuff, but you do what you got to do, you know. So I was fourth going in. I actually bowled. My first 5 games were actually pretty dang good, and I went 5-0 in match play, but I wasn't making up any ground because of the 12, 7 people were left-handed. And I mean, there was no running down the left. I was the high righty by 150 pins at one point, and then Northouse started actually striking near the end, and the top 4 were left-handed. And they just had a really good look. I wouldn't even say really good look because their scores were still low. I mean, scores were low all the way around, but the left side just had just a little bit more, just a little bit better reaction than what we had. So it was pretty. You saw that coming, and it's okay. That's fine. I feel like I bowled pretty well for the most part. My hand was getting sore because I had to use an old thumb, which I'm not going to get into why I had to use an old thumb. Not yet, right now anyway. I don't want to be throwing anybody under the bus, but had to use an old switch grip thumb in order to be able to use certain bowling balls. So, but either way, I bowled pretty well. I won my first 5 matches and then just lost the last 3. I got ran over. I got ran over by Mike Jasinski, who bowled really good this week. He bowled 260. I bowled a 190 that I thought was pretty good. And then I bowled Graham game 7 of match play, and he threw the last 4 for 2-0, which forced me to double in the 10th, and I didn't double in the 10th, so I lost that one. I bowled 190 to his 2-0, and then the last game I bowled 130 on the end pair on 23 and 24. I had nothing. I mean, he had nothing. I think he won with 180 or 190 or something to my 130. I mean, because I split or missed a spare or something every time on the right lane. I couldn't get the ball. If I got it going up the lane, it overhooked. If I got it going to the right at all, it never hooked. And I just had 0 on that pair. And at this point, the worst I was going to do was drop 1 spot because the other 5 guys below were so far back. I mean, everybody kind of just gave up at that point. They were just so hard. At one point, Michael Tang was just, in the match against me that he bowled, he literally was just throwing it straight up the middle, just trying to hit the head pin because he had no look, and what else was he going to do? So, it is what it is. It was a week of bowling that felt pretty good. I finished 7th overall, behind 5 lefties and a righty, and it was okay overall, but pretty good weekend. So that's my recap for the weekend. We don't have a regional again until 2 weeks from now, back in Canfield, Ohio. So this week I'm gonna take a couple days off, re-drill a couple of thumbs, fix a couple of bowling balls that need to be fixed, and then get back at it. But today we start our new class. Today we have a class starting at 6 o'clock, 6 to 9. If you want to join, I still got a few spots left. Trying to keep the classes small so that way we have enough time with everybody gets enough one-on-one time and individual time. So if you want to come on up, it's at 6 o'clock at Waterford Lanes, 6 to 9, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. You'll be able to sign up for that. It's $199 for the class, so you get 9 hours of instruction, teaching, online coaching, and everything else in 3 days. Fit check, all those types of things, checking all the numbers. Just teaching you some advanced techniques and whatnot through the next 3 days. If you want to join this class today, come on up at 6. If you want to come in for the class next week, it starts next week, May 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th from 6 o'clock to 9 as well. So come on in, and we will see you guys then. But I'm out of here. We'll see you guys later. Take care.